Hello and welcome to the boho dress DIY. I'm using existing patterns to make the cutest little things over the next 3 weeks, and we're kicking it off with this lovely tiered boho dress which you can make with my Natalie pattern, but of course you don't have to use that. Any sundress pattern you have got will do for this as well. And if you are making your tiers in one length, you might need 2 meters and 50. That's just under 3 yards to get you started. The dress has got cam snaps in the back. You can also get snaps from Babyville. They are sold at Walmart, so you have no problem getting those. So let's have a look at the little alteration I made to my Natalie pattern to make this easier and quicker to sew. My back had a placket in it, and for this pattern I actually didn't want that, so I needed to extend it to make it easier for you to sew together. This is a really quick and easy summer dress. When I say easy, it does take time, but it's not difficult. So I'm adding 1.5 centimeters, that is half an inch, to my pattern. Actually 1.5 centimeters is probably a little bit more than half an inch, but yeah, but you can see it there. So now that is the overlap that you would be getting, and that's plenty. Then my shoulder strap I wanted to make a little bit wider as well, so I added 1 centimeter to that on either side, and that is, what is that, 1/4 inch I think. Oh please people, oh the inches are killing me. Anyway, I added 2 centimeters to the side and connected those, and then just cut that out, and that gave me a really nice wide strap. So if you're working with your own pattern, you just have to kind of say, this is what I like, this is a good width. So let's get started sewing this baby together. So you need the front on the fold twice, and then you need the back twice on either side as well, so you get 4 backs really, and we're using the same fabric as the lining. So the first thing to do is to put the side seams together on the lining and the outer shell fabric, and I'm using exactly the same fabric because on white I didn't want anything to show through, and it's such a nice fabric and I had so much of it. You want the first layer to be the complete bodice circumference and times that by 1.5, and then you go on for the second and the third layer in the same way. And just an example here, if the bodice is 60 centimeters, then the first layer is 90, the second layer times 1.5 is 135, and then the third layer will be 2 meters roughly. So my suggestion would be to get 2 meters 50 if you want to get the strips in one go. If you want to have these tiers as separate ones because you're just making it with rests or even using different fabrics for every tier, then that's fine as well. You won't need as much fabric, but you will have to put those together to get those lengths that you measured out. Anyway, and that's what I'm doing here because I'm just using rests for it. And that worked absolutely fine. But it would have been nicer to have it in one go. The more busy your fabric is, the easier it is to hide those little seams where the tiers are attached to each other. Now we're going to iron those seams apart. So it's nice and flat. And then we're going to put the lining and the outer with the right sides facing on top of each other, and we're just sewing around the armhole. Then you also want to just iron your strips to one side. You also need to overlock any seams you have connecting them because you didn't get it in one. Now for the shoulder strap, I'm going to sew it just closing it on one side, and then I can iron it either towards the middle here or keep the side seam on the side. So let's go to the sewing machine and sew all these bits together. There we go, that is my strap, and now I'm going around the armhole as well, and I'm kind of pushing my fabric in to hold it because I didn't use stay tape, but I would really suggest that you use this because it will stretch a little bit if you don't use it. On my fabric, freakishly enough, it worked just fine, but I wouldn't want you to be disappointed, so use some stay tape in it or put some interfacing on, that's also good. Next I'm going to turn my shoulder strap So just use a safety pin and then push that baby through to the other side and give it a good press. And like I said, you can either iron it to just to the side, so we've got the side seam just in the side, or you can do it so it is in the center. That's preference. I like it in the center, so that's what I've done here. Then cut back the seam allowance, but do not snip it, because if you snip it and you haven't stay stitched it, it'll stretch to oblivion. It won't be nice. I didn't do any understitching either, because I wanted this to be like a video for a really quick dress and not like a proper like evening dress. So I didn't do any understitching, but of course you could do that. I'm putting Vilene on the center back as well, on the inside, just so that when I put my cam snaps or your Babybel snaps on, that none of this will rip out. And there we go, bodice almost done. Very simple, very easy. We're going to put the shoulder straps on. So right sides facing each other, so outer fabric and right side of the strap. Make sure that you move the strap over so where the seam allowance is, it hits. Don't forget the armhole has like a little line that goes towards the inside. So if you just line it up with the top, there will be like this horrible little edge, which you don't want. So push it all the way into that corner and then turn it so that we now have the right sides on the inside, and all we need to do now is sew across the top, and that is the bodice finished. It's very, very simple. Make sure that you secure on the seam, because we're going to cut across there. And even though I don't do it on the video, if you cut across and you've just locked the stitches in on the very end, then obviously it'll come apart. So cut it back and then give it a really good press across. And you can see that right on the edge. That's really nice. You don't want that little corner there. Then fold over the back, and now just as they need to go in, we're going to put the right sides together here. I find this is the easiest way to get it right. Fold your lining over and then just stitch across that top, and you're not coming down the center back, because number one, we want to put on some lace afterwards, and number two, the frills or your tiers are going to be easier to put on if you do it later. Now I want to just put my tiers on the second setting of my ruffler foot, so it's not quite so tight. I want every sixth step, and I don't want it to be like massive, because then the skirt gets so big at the bottom and it's so much fabric and it's really not that comfy. So move it over one step, and then my dial is also low, so I really don't want this together, so I need 3 times as much fabric as I had for the top. Yeah, so I really only wanted 1.5. That is not a lot. I want just a very gentle gather or very gentle little pleat. And then I'm going to just put this on right sides together through my ruffler foot. And you've seen this before. I've done a whole series now on doing stuff with your ruffler foot. And what you want to make sure is that your bottom layer doesn't slip out and then kind of goes into the top layer. I had that. Don't ask me how I did that, but I gathered them at the same time, and then I had to unpick it, and then I had already cut it off, and I didn't have enough, and it was really annoying. So keep checking, please. And there you see the first layer is on, and you get these cutest little pleats. I think that is so pretty. And then you take the next layer and you put that on in the same way. And if you measured correctly, and maybe what you want to do is get yourself a sample piece and measure it before you gather it, and then gather it onto another piece of fabric, and then see how much the difference is, so that you make sure it's only 1.5. The last thing I'm going to put on is a little bit of lace, and I just gather that on as well because I think it's super cute and boho. And then I'm putting on my little lace, and that just goes over the top from the center back to the other center back. So all I do is here put it straight on, and the center back is still open. It's not on this side because I should have had it open. I opened it up later. Anyway, that's what you need to do, and just overlap it a little bit if you have like a wider lace. I did that because otherwise it would have been too wide. Use a thread that's actually really matching so it can't be seen when you do your top stitching, and then just top stitch it in. Find a spot that's really good to sew it on. In my case, I sewed just where actually the first tier was attached, so it's a bit loose on the bottom, and I thought that was really nice. I would suggest that if you're not quite sure how to work out tiers, that you watch my ruffle skirt video, and the link to that is on the info eye. So if you look in the top right hand side of this video and you hover your mouse over it, an eye will pop up, and if you click on that, the link to that video will come up, and you can watch that in a little bit more detail and a little bit slowly. I didn't want to repeat that in such detail on this video as well. So I'm going along both sides, and hey presto, and it's such a beautiful color, such a beautiful turquoise. It looks really blue here, but it's like stunning turquoise. Now I'm going to turn up the lining part of my fabric and just turn it up one, and then I'm closing the center back all the way down. And you also now can overlock this center back and cut off the excess that you've got, so it's really nice and neat, and it gives you a beautiful finish there. Absolutely stunning. So you can see I've also overlocked all my tiers, and now I'm going to do some top stitching. I'm going to top stitch all the tiers down so it looks really cool, and at the hem I'm going to just roll the hem down a little bit and then stitch that through so it looks like another layer peeping out from underneath, and that's really pretty, I think. You also need to make sure that the layers on both sides are actually now exactly the same and line up, because you don't want to do that after. Now I'm going to put together my center back, and I'm leaving a gap about 7 to 8 centimeters, and then I just close that center back, and basically my dress is done, isn't it? That is a time-consuming dress, but it's not a difficult dress, which is why I really like it. And I have to say, the little girl I made it for, that's modeling, is called Magdalena. And when she had this dress on, she didn't want to take it off, and she didn't want to try on any of the other stuff that I'd sent, which also had beautiful ruffles. No, this was the one she wanted to wear, and she would not take it off. So I think this is a complete winner. Then I'm going to attach my lining to the inside. If I hadn't used this really wide ribbon on the outside, you know, it's so nice. But if I hadn't done that, I would have just stitched it through by machine, but I'm doing it by hand. So I call it the tunneling. I'm kind of tunneling through the lining so that, you know, where the seam allowance has made that little crease. And then I catch a little bit of my outer fabric from the seam again, and then, you know, I carry on doing that. And that way you cannot see a thing. You could top stitch this part, but I'm just leaving that. There's no need to do that. And now I can put my cam snaps in. So side seams need to be like right on the side, and where that hits, then you know, well, that's what you have to put together. And I'm just pinning it here to make sure that it doesn't move while I'm going to put this in. And then I take my little pointy tool from the cam snaps, and where I want my top button to be, that's where I'm going to put my first one in. So just press that down so it gives you an indent. Take the tool and force it through to the other side. And then the cam snaps have like either a flat side, which goes on the very bottom, and the very top. So take that flat bit now and push that through from the back, and then we're going to put the part of the cam snap which has got this as a sort of thicker round bit around it, that goes over the top. And then you get this brilliant tool with it as well, which I love these because they're so simple, they're so easy. And if you have got a sewing machine which has really horrible buttonholes, especially if you have a cheaper machine, then this is such a good solution, don't you think? That you can just like use these snaps and, you know, Bob's your uncle really. And then you put from the outside a flat one, and from the inside the snap with the sharp edge, and then you press that down. As long as you press down totally straight so you don't squash anything, it's very, very simple to do. I always do the top button first, and then I'm going to take the lowest button, and where I think that needs to go, I'm going to put through my tool again. And I was really worried that because it got so thick that the cam snaps would just snap off, but they didn't, and that's really, really lucky. That is one of the things that if it's too thick, it will. So one of the secrets to getting this right is to make sure that your seam allowance of the center back is nowhere near that cam snap. So if you've got like 1.5 seam allowance because you're using like a simplicity pattern or something like that, then make sure that you cut it back so that that doesn't come in it as well, because no way are they going to stay in, they're just going to fall off. So put the bottom one on exactly like the top one, and then close them both. There we go. And now we're going to do the middle one, and we're taking a snap and we're really forcing that down where we want that snap to go, and then we're using that little indent to put our last button in. And we do exactly the same. You open them up again, and it's so simple. There we go. Super. Now you want to press it, but don't press on your cam snaps because those babies are in plastic and they will melt, and your dress is finished. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But then I had this idea, why not put flowers on? And I had these big ones, and then I thought, nah, I'm just going to do like the small ones. I could have gone all the way over the shoulders as well, but I thought it was a little bit much. So I just stuck with the little flowers in the front, and I put some on the back as well. And I've sewed them on. Watching Property Brothers, which I'm a bit addicted to, I have to say. I love that program. Anyway, dress finished, and tiers from the inside all nicely overlocked. You can see here the hem is just beautiful. So when you want to make a dress like this, it's just a matter of getting your tiers and the length right, which you can work out easily. The next few weeks I'm going to show you another 2 variations that you can make with my patterns, and we're going to use the Georgina pattern for that and the Millie pattern, and I hope to see you back next week. Bye for now.